Direct your questions to whichever senator you want to ask them to. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. To anyone. I'm Allison Steiner with Lindell TV, and Mike Lindell himself is actually mentioned in the judiciary document release involving Arctic Frost. When can Lindell and really all other Americans know what to extent and by what means they were targeted and or surveilled in all of this? And will there be a full list release of every American that was involved?
Well, I think my colleagues could speak to this as well, but I think that we're going to just prove what the government has tried to do. We get more documents to do it, and we don't know everybody that's probably been involved yet, but we've got evidence that too many people, and this process should have never gone ahead. Anybody else want to say anything? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. I know we've had a lot of special counsels in recent years, and I know that you guys in the judiciary are planning on investigating this. Is this something that you think the Trump administration should appoint a special counsel to investigate?
I'd love to handle that.
Yeah.
So having been involved in investigations now for about 10 years, the first thing I notice when there's a special counsel or a criminal investigation, we never get access to the information. And if crimes aren't charged, that all gets sealed, and the American public never knows what happened. So I've called on Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, do a rigorous internal investigation for the purpose of turning those documents over to Congress so that we can examine people, we can take testimony, we can hold hearings, so the American people know what happened. We bind this up in a legal process right away, we'll never know. So I am, at some point in time, criminal referrals, at some point in time, criminal investigations, prosecutions, or special counsels, but that should not be the first thing we should do.
I would see this process if a special counsel was appointed. Whoever made that decision to appoint it, they'd want to shut down our investigation. Yes, over there.
Senator Grassley, do you agree with your colleagues that Judge Boasberg should be impeached? And if so, what do you think that process would look like?
I'm sorry, I've got hearing problems, so speak louder.
Do you agree with your colleagues that Judge Boasberg should be impeached, as they just mentioned? And if so, how would that process play out?
With the hearings, you mean? Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, we want to make sure that we have all the documents, all the information that we can possibly get, so we know when these people that come before us, they know what to say or not to say, and we got to make sure that we got the documents so when they lie to us, we can challenge them.
Can I say something about that? Impeachment starts in the House. And I think what Ted's saying is based on this order, he hopes the House will look at whether or not this judge abused his authority. I am 1,000% supportive of that idea. I cannot believe that a federal judge would sign an order informing a senator for a year regarding a request coming from Jack Smith because they think Ted Cruz would tamper with witnesses, withhold, or destroy evidence. That's unbelievable. What made you think that? What evidence did you have? That really did shut down the systems as it's supposed to. You're supposed to tell us when we have our phone records asked for. That's actually a law somewhere. Well, the judge overrode that. Why? How could he possibly conclude that? What evidence did he have? If there's no evidence, then I think he chilled the ability of Senator Cruz to be able to react in real time and violated the way this whole system's set up. They're supposed to call us. We had a judge's order saying, don't tell Ted for a whole year because Ted may destroy evidence and tamper with witnesses. That is BS. I hope somebody will look at that.
And just one tweak, the judge didn't say I may destroy evidence. The judge signed an order that says the court finds reasonable grounds to believe that such disclosure will result in destruction of or tampering with evidence, intimidation of potential witnesses, and serious jeopardy to the investigation. And that is utterly without basis in fact. There was no evidence to support that. If the prosecutor made that representation, the prosecutor perjured himself.
Amen.
And I'd bet $20 this judge cranked out an order like that for every single senator down up here. We just happen to have mine, but it's boilerplate. If you're a Republican, you're on the enemies list, I find that you will destroy evidence. And so we're going to let the executive surveil you without Congress ever knowing about it.
Let me apologize to you for not hearing your question right.
Sir.
Can we talk about a little bit about what these subpoenas were looking at, what they were trying to pull back? Are we talking about fundraising around January 6th? We just didn't really get a clear understanding of what those subpoenas were, what they were trying to look at in these Republican organizations.
Well, an awful lot of it was about the elector case, which you have to understand. I mean, in Wisconsin, we had an alternate slate of electors. We had probably the most experienced and knowledgeable election attorney Judge Trupus, handled the president's case. He thought it in the best interest of his client that he would appoint an alternate slate of electors. So that if he prevailed, he wouldn't end up like Al Gore before the Supreme Court. Well, even if you win, you don't have an alternate slate of electors. They tried to criminalize that. Even though our Attorney General's office said that there was nothing improper about that alternate slate of electors, the news calls those fake electors. The Attorney General now of Wisconsin is trying to put Judge Trupus away for life. He's trying to criminalizing. He's indicting him on felonies. So a lot of it was about the whole alternate elector part. But you know, by and large, it was just a weaponization. It was. I mean, the timeline. I meant to do that. I want to keep my remarks short, but let's just go through the timeline. It's important. In April of 2022. Garland approves that elector case. Okay, that's April 22. August of 22, they raid Mar-a-Lago. September 19th was the first subpoenas issued in this whole investigation. As other senators pointed out, November 15th, Trump announces candidacy. 3 days later, Jack Smith is appointed. June 2023, Jack Smith indicts Trump. August, he indicts him again. In August 6th, there's a briefing on Jack Smith's Arctic Frost case reviewing log call collection from 9 members of Congress. That happened, after all this occurred. What are they doing collecting records after that point? And the final point of this, in November of 2023, Lisa Monaco changes the procedures on collecting telephone information or information on members of Congress. Like somebody at some point in time realized we better cover our backside. So again, this was an enemies list. This was a political witch hunt, and it's all politicized. It's all about trying to keep President Trump on office.
And let me add a little bit in answer to your question. So President Trump announced his candidacy in November of 2022. This subpoena was signed on May 25th of 2023. So it was about 6 months after he announces his candidacy. I assume the others were contemporaneous, although we don't have that information. You asked what did it cover. Here's what the attachment to the subpoena says. Provide the following records from January 4th, 2021 through January 7th, 2021. Subscriber information. Names, including subscriber names, user names, and screen names. Addresses, including mailing addresses, residential addresses, business addresses, and email addresses. All call detail records, including but not limited to detail records for inbound and outbound calls, text messages, direct connect, and voicemail messages. So every text that a sitting senator received, every text that a sitting senator sent, every voicemail that you had, all of the data the phone company had. Length of service, including start date, types of service, and it goes through means of source of payment for such service. It goes through record of sessions, times, and durations, and temporarily assigned network addresses such as internet protocol addresses associated with those sessions. So they're looking for, among other things, geolocation of where you were. This is flat-out surveillance. And by the way, the Supreme Court has concluded that law enforcement can't get geolocation from a cell phone without particularized evidence of a crime. They didn't have that. This was a fishing expedition to say, give me everything you got on 20% of the Republicans in the Senate.
Like 30 months after the 2020 election.
Yeah.
Just real quick, Jack Smith recently said he wanted to testify in a public setting, and I know that you sort of gave a list of preconditions. First, do you have an update on whether or not he'll testify, and any of those preconditions kind of stand out to you? Are you a problem with any of them?
You're saying Jack Smith wants to testify?
In a public setting?
Yeah, again, we need the documents first so we can determine whether he's telling us the truth or not. Otherwise, he comes in with all the advantage. So no, we need those documents. That's why we need Cash Patel. We need them to gain control of their agency, which is difficult to do, to turn these records over so we're prepared to either have them give a transcribed interview or do a hearing. And I will say, too, Senator Cruz talked about his subpoena. We released the subpoenas. They are broad. These are not narrow, targeted subpoenas. They're looking for everything but the kitchen sink. I mean, trust me, you would not want to get a subpoena like that.
And let me also put, just from the AG perspective, if it wasn't for when I was AG and the Republican AGs pushed back on the Biden agenda, right? We took the vaccine mandate to the Supreme Court, we won. On the student loan, and won. We took the student loan debt forgiveness case to the Supreme Court, and we won. We fought against all the overreach from COVID. We took on all those issues and won. So if that's a predicate for criminal prosecution, because you're the constitutionally elected lawyer for the people of your state, pushing back against illegal activity from a president, I can't think of a more chilling activity that this previous administration headed by Biden and then, of course, his minions who were doing his dirty work were. That's, again, why, I think it's just easy to kind of like, oh, there's another, whatever, it's another story, and there's another. Like, if you put this in its full context and laid it out in a book, you would not think it happened in the United States of America.
Who wants the very last question?
You.
Thank you. Kind of piggybacking off of this question about Jack Smith's public testimony, if that's happening, you guys are saying that you need Cash Patel to get you those documents. Do you have any estimate on a timeline of what that would look like? Are you sending people to help? What is that? You're saying you need staff?
Yeah, so what I can just say in terms of my own staff's working with Cash Patel, and again, he's doing everything he can, but we're getting reports that they are having a very difficult time getting documents. I ran the same problem with Bobby Kennedy, or HHS. He's for radical transparency. It took months for him to break the logjam inside HHS to give us the documents. So again, this is a challenge. That's why he's, again, the Judiciary Committee's got to do everything they can to help Cash Patel get control of his agencies, get us those documents.
From my perspective here, I would simply say this, that I think that we're getting maximum cooperation from the FBI, somewheres in the bowels of the Department of Justice. One of two things: either it takes a long time to go through this stuff, or they're looking for an excuse not to give it. But quite frankly, we've got to have the Attorney General jack the people up that are under her, that are keeping us from getting these documents. And I made that statement not only to you just now, but in one of our hearings within the last 2 weeks, made very clear that this is something that we're trying to get out to the public to make sure all the wrong that's been done to President Trump over the last 10 years, and for the historical reason to make sure it doesn't happen again. We want this out, and I would think that it would be in Trump's own interest to tell the Justice Department that this stuff ought to be made public so that we never have it happen again, not just to him, but to anybody else.
Thank you much.